This story is titled, "My Sisters Got into a Fist Fight on Thanksgiving because they both slept with the other's boyfriend," which was a very sad day for my father. He went out of his way to avoid eating. This Thanksgiving will go down in history, and not in a good way. 26-year-old me just wanted a quiet day with my family, but instead, I ended up witnessing what could be the most chaotic Thanksgiving ever. My younger sisters, Rachel, 23, and Jessica, 21, turned our family dinner into a spectacle because they decided to resolve a dispute they had been hiding for months by throwing punches at each other in the middle of dinner. The reason? They discovered that they had been secretly dating each other's boyfriends. Yes, you read that right. Somehow, they managed to surpass any family drama story I've ever heard in my life. What started out as a quiet, normal holiday ended in screaming, accusations, and a full-blown fistfight in the dining room of my parents' house on Thanksgiving morning. It was a pretty typical start for us. My mom was in the kitchen doing her thing. She's the type of person who insists on making everything from scratch. My dad was in the living room, glued to the football game, like every year. Rachel and Jessica were helping, in quotes, because helping really meant hanging around the kitchen, pretending to do something while scrolling on their phones. I was sitting at the bar, trying not to get in the way. I had already been scolded once for stealing a bagel, so now I was just drinking coffee, hoping we could get through the day without any drama. Rachel and Jessica seemed fine. They were even joking and laughing, which doesn't always happen with my sisters. They've always been close, but they have this competitive streak that emerges at the strangest times. When we were kids, it was about who got the best grades or who sat in the front seat. As adults, it's more subtle, who has the best job, who looks best in family photos, that kind of thing. But today, they seemed surprisingly calm. They were laughing, playfully annoying each other, and for a moment, I thought, wow, maybe this year will be calm. We sat down for dinner around 6 p.m. The table looked perfect, as my mom always goes all out with the decorations. There were mashed potatoes, stuffing, cranberry sauce, the works. My dad was already helping himself to food like he hadn't eaten in a week. We were all chatting about work, school, and the usual family topics. Rachel and Jessica were even joking together, which made me let my guard down. For the first 20 minutes, it felt like a Thanksgiving straight out of a movie. Little did I know it was the calm before the storm. Mid-dinner, Jessica suddenly blurts out, "You're a hypocrite, Rachel. How's Tyler?" For context, Tyler is Jessica's boyfriend, or at least that's what I thought. The room goes completely silent. Rachel freezes with her fork in the air, and for a second, it feels like time stops. My mom tries to laugh nervously and change the subject, but Rachel doesn't let it slide. She puts her fork on the table, looks Jessica directly in the eyes, and says, "I don't know. How's Mike?" For context, Mike is Rachel's boyfriend, or at least, that's what I thought too. At that moment, it's like all the air has been sucked out of the room. Jessica shoots up so quickly that her chair makes a horrible screech as it slides across the floor. "You slept with my boyfriend?" she shouts, pointing at Rachel. Rachel doesn't even try to deny it. She just leans back in her chair with a satisfied expression and says, "Oh, please." As if you hadn't slept with Mike first. My dad, who had been calmly enjoying his turkey, puts down his fork and mutters, "What the hell is going on?" My mom is pale, clutching her napkin like it's her lifeline. I'm sitting in complete silence, trying to process what I just heard. Jessica sees red. She throws her drink across the table, knocking Rachel's plate to the floor in the process. Before we can react, Rachel jumps up and pushes her back. Thinking about it now, I wonder how the hell they moved so fast. Before anyone can do anything, Jessica tackles Rachel, and both of them fall to the floor, knocking over half the table in the process. Plates, drinks, and food go flying everywhere. My mom is screaming, my dad is yelling at them to stop, and I'm just standing there like an idiot, too stunned to move. By the time I finally react, Jessica has Rachel in some kind of headlock, and Rachel is clawing at Jessica's arm. My dad jumps up and tries to separate them, but they're screaming so loudly, it's impossible to understand what they're saying. My mom is crying, screaming at them to stop, but it's like they don't even hear her. Eventually, my dad manages to pull them apart, but not before they've done some damage. Rachel's hair is a tangled mess, and Jessica has a long scratch on her cheek. They keep shouting accusations at each other, completely ignoring him. "You're a traitor," Jessica shouts. "Oh, please. As if you were any better." Rachel snaps back. At this point, the dining room looks like it was hit by a tornado. There's food everywhere. Mashed potatoes on the floor, cranberry sauce smeared on the wall, and the turkey is teetering on the edge of the plate. My dad is red with anger, my mom is crying in the kitchen, and I'm just sitting there, wondering how the hell it all came to this. Even after the chaos at the table, things didn't exactly calm down. Rachel stormed out of the house, slamming the door so hard I'm surprised it didn't fall off its hinges. Jessica, on the other hand, locked herself in her room and refused to come out. The rest of us were left in the middle of the wreckage. The dining room still looked like it had been hit by a tornado. Mashed potatoes were scattered on the floor, cranberry sauce was dripping down the wall, and turkey grease was splattered across the tablecloth. My mom was in the kitchen, crying into a dish towel. Thanksgiving is one of her favorite holidays, and she always goes all out to make it perfect. Seeing it ruined like this, especially by her own daughters, seemed to crush her spirit. She kept muttering things like, "How did I fail?" and "I just wanted a nice dinner." Meanwhile, my dad was furious. Normally, he's the calm and steady one in the family, but tonight, he was pacing back and forth, red with anger, ranting about how Rachel and Jessica had no respect for anyone. At one point, he muttered, "I don't care what happened between them. They had no right to ruin Thanksgiving for the rest of us." I tried to meditate, but it was useless. My mom was too upset to talk, and my dad was too angry to listen. I decided to check on Jessica first. I knocked on her door, but she just yelled, "Go away," from the other side. I tried again, saying, "Can we at least talk about this?" But she didn't budge. I could hear her crying inside, which, honestly, made me feel even worse. After a few minutes, I gave up and went outside to see if Rachel was still around. She wasn't. Her car was gone, and everything pointed to the fact that she had left. I thought about calling her, but decided against it. She was probably just as angry and upset as Jessica, and I doubted she'd want to talk to anyone at that moment. So I went back inside and tried to help my mom clean the dining room. She didn't say much, and the silence felt heavier than anything else that had happened that night. Over the next few hours, I started piecing together what was really going on. While my mom was scrubbing cranberry sauce off the wall, she muttered something like, "I knew there was tension between them, but I never imagined this." Apparently, Rachel and Jessica had been distant from each other for weeks before Thanksgiving, but no one thought much of it. Looking back now, it all makes sense, the competitive comments, the passive-aggressive jabs. It's clear that this wasn't just an impulsive fight. This conflict had been brewing for a long time, and Thanksgiving dinner was simply the breaking point. The next morning, the house felt like a ghost town. Rachel didn't come back, and Jessica only left her room for a few minutes. My parents were still too upset to talk, so I decided to try speaking with Jessica again. This time, she let me in. Her room was a mess of clothes and blankets scattered everywhere, and her eyes were red from crying so much. "What do you want?" she asked in a hoarse voice. "I just want to understand what happened," I told her. "Can you at least tell me your side of the story?" At first, she didn't say anything. Then, after a long pause, she blurted out. She started it. According to Jessica, the whole mess started a few months ago. She and Tyler had been dating for almost a year, and she thought things were going well. But one night, she caught him texting someone else. She confronted him, and after a lot of pushing, he finally admitted it was Rachel. Jessica said she was devastated, but didn't want to confront Rachel right away. Instead, she decided to get revenge by sleeping with Rachel's boyfriend, Mike. "I know it was childish," she admitted, "but I was so angry. I wanted her to feel the same way I felt." She looked at me like she was waiting for me to say something, but I honestly didn't know what to say. Part of me understood why she was upset, but another part of me couldn't believe she thought revenge was the answer. "You really thought this wasn't going to blow up in your face?" I finally asked her. She shrugged. I didn't think she'd find out. After talking to Jessica, I decided to text Rachel. I didn't expect her to respond, but I felt like I needed to hear her side of the story too. A few hours later, she finally replied, "I'm not coming back tonight. I need space. And just so you know, she's not innocent either." She started with Mike. It's obvious this isn't going to be resolved anytime soon. By the end of the day, the whole house still felt tense. My mom kept crying off and on, and my dad was pacing back and forth, mumbling about how they ruined everything. Jessica stayed locked in her room, and Rachel was who knows where. As for me, I'm just trying to figure out how to mediate this disaster. I've always been the one to step in and fix things when my sisters fight, but this time, it feels different. This isn't just a silly argument or a misunderstanding. This is betrayal on a whole new level, and I don't think there's an easy solution. What do you think? Update 1. It's been a few days since the Thanksgiving fiasco. I've finally started to piece together the full story. Rachel keeps avoiding coming home, and Jessica stays locked in her room. My parents barely talk, and the atmosphere at home is tense and uncomfortable. I would even say the house itself feels heavy, like the air is charged with unresolved conflict. Since no one else seems willing to mediate, I decided to get to the bottom of the matter myself. I don't know if it will help, but someone has to try to understand what the hell happened. The first thing I did was send a message to Rachel. It takes her a while to respond. Clearly, she's not in the mood to talk, but eventually, she agrees to call me. When she answers, her tone is defensive and cold, like she's expecting me to take Jessica's side. "What do you want?" she says right away. "I just want to know what happened," I tell her. "I can't help if I don't understand." Rachel sighs, and after a long pause, she begins to explain. According to her, everything started a few months ago. Jessica slept with Mike after a party, and Rachel found out through mutual friends. She says she didn't confront Jessica at the time because she didn't want to cause drama. "So, instead of talking to her, you decided to sleep with her boyfriend?" I ask. Rachel doesn't even hesitate. She deserved it. I wanted her to know what it feels like. Hearing her say that honestly makes my stomach turn. It's one thing to be angry or upset, but to deliberately betray someone, especially your own sister, just out of spite is another level of pettiness. "Are you even sorry?" I ask her. Rachel scoffs.
No.
"Why should I be?" She started it. Talking to her feels like talking to a wall. She's so focused on justifying her actions that she can't see how toxic this entire situation is. Eventually, she cuts the call, saying she doesn't have time for this. After my frustrating conversation with Rachel, I decided to talk to Jessica. She's been locked in her room since the fight, but this time, when I knock, she actually opens the door. "What do you want?" she asks, looking at me like I'm the enemy. "I just talked to Rachel," I told her, and she gave me another version of the story. Jessica rolls her eyes, but eventually starts talking. She admits she slept with Mike after a party, but insists it was no big deal. According to her, it was a one-time thing, and she didn't think Rachel would ever find out. "So what happened?" I ask. "Why did you confront her at dinner?" Jessica crosses her arms and shrugs. "Because she went too far. She slept with Tyler just to get back at me. She's always been jealous of me and can't stand to see me happy." The way she says it makes my blood boil. Jessica acts like she's the victim here, conveniently ignoring the fact that she started this whole mess. I try to explain it to her, but she cuts me off. "Don't give me lectures," she snaps. She's the one who ruined everything, not me. At this point, I realize there's no point in reasoning with either of them. Both of them are so focused on blaming each other that they can't see the damage they've caused, not only to each other, but to the entire family. My parents, desperate to restore some sense of normalcy, decide to organize a family meeting. They manage to convince Rachel to come home for one night. We all sit in the living room to try and talk things out. It's a disaster. From the beginning, Jessica refuses to make eye contact with Rachel, and Rachel spends the first 5 minutes scrolling through her phone. My dad, who has clearly had enough of this whole situation, starts by saying, "I don't care what happened between you two. You need to fix this or don't bother coming back to my house." That's all it takes for the screaming to start. Jessica accuses Rachel of being selfish and manipulative, and Rachel responds by calling Jessica a spoiled child who always needs to be the center of attention. My poor mom tries to calm them down, but it's like pouring water on an oil fire. The more she begs them to stop, the louder they yell. Eventually, my dad leaves, muttering something about how he can't deal with this anymore. By the end of the night, nothing is resolved. Rachel leaves again, slamming the door on her way out, and Jessica locks herself in her room. My mom breaks down crying, saying she doesn't know what she did to deserve this. In the middle of all this chaos, I can't help but wonder where Tyler and Mike are. From what I've been able to gather, they both disappeared as soon as things got complicated. Tyler broke up with Jessica via text message, saying something vague about needing to clear his mind. Meanwhile, Mike just ghosted Rachel, no calls, no texts, no explanation. He simply vanished. Honestly, I'm not surprised. Both guys sound like complete losers. But it's still amazing that Rachel and Jessica were willing to destroy their relationship for men who clearly didn't care about them. At this point, I don't know how the family can move on. Rachel and Jessica refuse to be in the same room, which makes family gatherings impossible. My parents are considering family therapy, but Rachel has already said she won't go. Meanwhile, Jessica acts as if she's won because Rachel left the house. She walks around with a cocky attitude, as if she's completely innocent, which makes everything even more frustrating. As for me, I'm stuck in the middle, trying to keep the family together while also trying to keep my sanity. It's exhausting, and I honestly don't know how much longer I can keep being the mediator. Update 2. I'm back, and I wish I could say that things are starting to calm down. For the Redditors who commented, saying things would get better, I don't think so. If anything, the situation has only gotten worse. Rachel and Jessica continue to refuse to talk to each other, and the tension in our family seems to be at an all-time high. My parents tried to set up another family meeting, but Rachel refused to come, and Jessica said she wouldn't be upset if Rachel wasn't there. At this point, I feel like I'm watching my family fall apart in real time. But just when I thought it couldn't get any more dramatic, a new bombshell drops, one that makes everything that's happened so far seem insignificant in comparison. Let me backtrack a little. After the failed family reunion, Rachel decided to officially move out. She packed her things and told my parents she was going to stay with a friend in another city for a while. She said she needed space to clear her mind and decide what she wanted to do. Jessica, on the other hand, has been acting like she won because Rachel left. Meanwhile, my parents are completely devastated. My mom keeps saying things like, "I just want my daughters to love each other again," while my dad does everything he can to avoid talking about it. I decided to give Rachel space and not pressure her, but a few days ago, she sent me a message out of the blue, saying, "We need to talk." When I called Rachel, she sounded scared. Her voice was shaking and she kept repeating, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who else to call. I tried to get her to calm down and tell me what was happening. After a few minutes, she dropped the bombshell. Jessica isn't the only one who has been sleeping with her boyfriend. Rachel recently discovered that Tyler was sleeping with both of them at the same time. Yes, you read that right. Tyler, Jessica's boyfriend, was apparently playing both sisters the entire time. Rachel says she discovered it when she saw messages on Tyler's phone during one of their meetups. At the time, she was too angry with Jessica to process it, but now everything is crashing down on her. She says she feels used, betrayed, and completely disgusted with herself. I don't even know what to say. The idea that Tyler was manipulating them both, knowing full well that they were sisters, is so twisted it's hard to process. You need to tell Jessica. I say finally. Rachel hesitates. I can't, she says. She'll just think I'm trying to make her look bad again. Rachel, I say, you may not be willing to tell Jessica, but the truth has a funny way of coming out. The next day, Jessica enters the house furiously, slamming the door so hard that the windows vibrate. She's holding her phone and is completely beside herself. Apparently, Rachel had confided the situation to a mutual friend, and that friend decided to tell Jessica everything. Jessica is furious, not only with Rachel, but also with Tyler. She runs up to my room and shoves her phone in my face, shouting, "Did you know about this?" On the screen are screenshots of messages between Tyler and Rachel, along with some incriminating photos that I really wish I hadn't seen. I found out yesterday, I tell her, trying to stay calm, but yes. You need to understand that Tyler played both of you. This isn't just Rachel's fault. Jessica doesn't want to listen. She's screaming about how Rachel ruined her life and how she can't believe she trusted either of them. She's crying so hard she can barely breathe, and honestly, I don't blame her. The next day, Jessica decides to confront Tyler. She sends him a message demanding to meet and drags me along for moral support. I'm not thrilled with the idea, but I go because I don't trust her to be able to handle it alone. We meet Tyler at a coffee shop, and as soon as he sits down, Jessica starts yelling at him. She's furious, screaming about how he used her, how he betrayed her, and how it's his fault that her relationship with Rachel is destroyed. To his credit, Tyler doesn't deny anything. Instead, he sits there with an arrogant smile and says, "I never promised either of them anything." That's when I lose my cool. I get up, slam my hands on the table, and say, "You knew they were sisters. You knew what this would do to their family, and you didn't care. Tyler, your behavior has been unacceptable. I'm disappointed in you." Tyler just shrugs and says, "That's not my problem." Jessica grabs his drink and throws it in his face before storming out of the cafe. I follow her, and we leave Tyler sitting there, soaked and looking unbothered. As for me, I've decided to take a step back. I love my sisters, but I can't keep putting myself in the middle of their drama. They need to figure this out on their own without dragging the rest of the family down with them. At this point, I don't know if Rachel and Jessica will ever repair their relationship. The betrayal runs so deep, and the added twist with Tyler has only made things worse. Update 3. It's been about a month since Thanksgiving, and I wish I could say things have gotten better. But honestly, they've only gotten worse. Rachel and Jessica still refuse to talk to each other. My parents are devastated, and I feel like I'm stuck in the middle of a never-ending mess. Let me explain where we are now. Rachel has officially moved out. She packed her things a week after the blow-up and told our parents that she was going to stay with a friend from university in another city. She said she needed space to clear her mind and that she couldn't stay here with everything that had happened. I don't blame her for leaving. I think she really needed to get away, not only from Jessica, but from the whole situation. My mom is especially affected. Rachel has always been the most independent of my sisters, but for her to simply leave without giving many explanations has left my mom deeply upset. She keeps saying things like, "I just want my girls to love each other again," or "I failed as a mother." It's hard to see her blame herself for something that clearly isn't her fault. My dad, on the other hand, is angry. He keeps saying that Rachel is running away from her problems and that she needs to grow up and face the consequences. I understand his point of view, but at the same time, I don't think yelling at her will accomplish anything. Rachel has already made her decision, and for now, she's determined to stay away. Rachel keeps in touch with me via text, but our conversations are brief. She says she's trying to move on and focus on her own life, but I can tell she's struggling. She doesn't talk about Jessica at all, and any mention of our parents is met with short, monosyllabic responses. Jessica still lives at home, but she's not handling things well either. She spends most of her time in her room, avoiding everyone. Her mood swings are out of control. One minute, she's crying about how unfair everything is, and the next, she's ranting about how Rachel always thinks she's better than everyone else. The most frustrating part is that Jessica continues to refuse to take any responsibility for her role in all of this. She still sees herself as the victim, conveniently ignoring the fact that she started it all by sleeping with Rachel's boyfriend. "I didn't do anything wrong," she told me the other day. "Rachel's just jealous because I've always had a better life." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It's like she's completely blind. I tried to confront her, but she simply rolled her eyes and walked away. My parents have tried to talk to her, but every conversation ends in yelling or tears. My mom doesn't want to deal with it anymore. My dad, meanwhile, has lost all patience and refuses to even discuss Jessica. "It's one thing that he cheated on me," he said to me the other night, "but Rachel being a part of it is unforgivable." I didn't even bother arguing with him. At this point, it's clear that Jessica is holding on to her anger because it's easier than facing the fact that she had a big part in creating this disaster. Meanwhile, Tyler has completely disappeared. From what I've heard, he's already dating another girl. The biggest victim of all of this has been our family dynamic. Rachel and Jessica were never perfect sisters, but they were always close in their own way. Now, it seems like their relationship is irreparable. Family gatherings are officially off the table. My parents had planned a Christmas dinner, but when they mentioned it, Rachel said she wouldn't come if Jessica was there. Jessica, of course, said the same thing about Rachel. My mom tried to reason with them, but they both refused. "We'll celebrate separately," Rachel said. "It's better that way." Hearing that broke my mom's heart. Christmas has always been one of her favorite holidays, and the thought of celebrating it without her two daughters has left her in tears more times than I can count. Although, to be honest, my mother loves any holiday that brings the family together, which is why she feels so bad. My dad has tried to keep his emotions under control, but even he is starting to break down. The other night, he told me, I don't care what they do anymore. If they want to destroy their relationship, that's their business. I can't blame him for feeling this way. At this point, I think we are all exhausted. And just when I thought things couldn't get any more complicated, Rachel dropped another bombshell. She called me last week with a shaky voice and said, I need to talk to you. Can you come over? I didn't ask any questions. I just went to her house, which wasn't a short trip. When I got there, she was pacing back and forth, clearly upset. Before I could ask what was going on, she blurted out, I'm pregnant. I froze.
What? How?
Are you sure? I asked. She nodded. I took a test. I don't know what to do. I don't even know if it's Tyler's or someone else's. Rachel told me she hadn't yet decided what to do. She hadn't told our parents, and she was terrified of how Jessica would react. How can I fix things with her when I don't even know how to fix myself? She asked. Of course, secrets like this don't stay hidden for long. A mutual friend let it slip to Jessica, and everything fell apart. Jessica showed up at Rachel's apartment, banging on the door and demanding answers. When Rachel finally let her in, I thought they would fight again, but they didn't. Instead, something unexpected happened. They both broke down crying. I'm sorry, Rachel said through tears. I didn't want any of this to happen. Jessica hugged her, crying just as hard. I'm sorry too. We let him ruin us. At this point, I think they're both closer to being admitted to a place for crazy people than celebrating a family holiday. But looking on the bright side, for the first time in months, they were acting like sisters again, not as rivals or enemies, but as two people who cared about each other. Things are far from perfect, but there is a glimmer of hope. Rachel and Jessica are talking again, trying to piece together what they lost. My parents still don't know about the pregnancy, and I have no idea how they will react when they find out. As for me, I am cautiously optimistic. For the first time since Thanksgiving, it looks like we really have a chance to come out of this stronger. But it will be a long road, and who knows what other surprises life has in store for us. I just hope this doesn't happen again. Update 4. My mother was happy with the idea of having a family dinner again, so she decided to organize it at the end of January so we could be together. She wanted to take advantage of the ceasefire we had been experiencing recently. Luckily, my father had eaten beforehand, so he wouldn't be hungry, unlike on Thanksgiving Day. Rachel is already starting to show signs of pregnancy, but not too much. She hasn't had much morning sickness, according to what she tells me, and her belly, although somewhat swollen, can go unnoticed because it barely protrudes. If she hadn't told me, I don't think I would have realized. She has been talking to Tyler and Mike about the possibility that one of them is the father. At least she hasn't been with any other men, so that simplifies things a bit. The idea is to get a DNA test with both of them once the baby is born. My parents didn't know about the pregnancy, at least not until this dinner, when everything blew up again. In the middle of dinner, Jessica asked Rachel how her pregnancy was going and if she was able to keep food down. My father, who was tasting a spoonful of mashed potatoes, almost spit it out. My mother, confused, asked Jessica what she was talking about. Jessica replied that Rachel was pregnant but, with sarcasm, added that since Rachel didn't know who the father was, she had decided to sleep with both men again. Rachel flatly denied this. My father, with a lost look on his face, asked if what Jessica said was true. Rachel admitted that the pregnancy part was true but denied that she was sleeping with anyone. She explained that she had been in contact with Tyler and Mike because they needed to take a paternity test after the baby was born. Jessica wasn't having it. She accused Rachel of lying and claimed that Rachel was using the baby, which, according to Jessica, might not even be real, as an excuse to sleep with Tyler and Mike, especially now that Jessica had started dating Mike. At that moment, my father, still looking bewildered, asked Jessica if this was true. Jessica, without hesitation, replied that now that everything was finished with Tyler, she thought it might be a good idea to try something with Mike since she'd had a lot of fun with him during their previous encounter. That's when Rachel had enough. She took a spoonful of mashed potatoes and threw it at Jessica's head. Luckily, this time, things didn't escalate into a full-blown brawl. They didn't come to blows, but a small food fight broke out. My father was not happy about this at all, especially since it was his food being wasted. The things they said to each other were brutal. Rachel called Jessica a crazy stupid, and Jessica shot back, calling Rachel a sex-crazed liar who would do anything to get attention. Eventually, my father had seen enough. He broke up the fight before more food could be wasted. Meanwhile, my mother stood crying in the corner, watching the mess they had made of her dinner. My father ended up kicking both of them out, Rachel, who no longer lives with us, and Jessica, who had been staying at a friend's house since the day before. I know I tried to add a bit of humor to this update, but honestly, I'm only doing it because I no longer care what happens with my sisters. I tried to be the mediator between them, but it hasn't worked. So now, I just limit myself to observing and, sometimes, laughing. I also lost my dinner just like my father. But at least I got better entertainment. I've learned to enjoy the moment instead of trying to fix things, because it seems like Rachel and Jessica will never have a functional relationship as sisters. Maybe my mother can adopt the same mentality if she stops trying to bring them together under the same roof, at the same table, with food in between. For those who are asking if Rachel is really pregnant, yes, she is. I've seen the blood tests that confirm it. I suppose they could be fake, but we'll know for sure in a few months. Update 5. I'm just here to tell you that Rachel has had her baby. A girl, to be exact. The father is Mike, so that solves the question of whether she was really pregnant, and, of course, who the father is. Jessica and Mike had been dating for a while, but when Mike found out he was the father, he left Jessica to be with Rachel. Luckily, Rachel rejected him and told him she only wanted him as a father to their child, not as a partner or husband. So far, Mike has been fulfilling his role as a father, although I don't know how long that will last since he's not exactly the most responsible man in the world. Of course, Jessica is not happy about this at all. But, at the very least, she hasn't done anything to make the situation worse. My sisters still don't talk to each other. While it's not an ideal situation, it's probably for the best at the moment. Jessica has even started dating someone else, which has helped keep the peace, for now. My mother has also learned something from all of this. She stopped insisting on family dinners where all of us are together. Instead, she now organizes dinners for Rachel and Jessica separately. This arrangement has actually turned out well for my father for several reasons. First, he doesn't have to go without eating, which had been a concern since he missed so many dinners due to all the drama. Some of us were worried he might lose weight and become weak, but don't worry, my father could stand to lose a few kilos. Second, now we have more dinners because my mother organizes one dinner for Rachel and another for Jessica. Both my father and I are invited to both dinners, which means this year we might have 2 Thanksgiving dinners.
You won't hear me complaining about that.
My mother is happy because she loves organizing and preparing all the food. Of course, she would prefer to have her 2 daughters together, but I don't think that will be possible for a long time. Rachel and Jessica don't talk to each other and have no intention of doing so. In part, this is for the best because, as I've already said, if they're together, it's likely another battle will break out. What do you think about this story? Have you ever experienced something similar, or do you know someone who has? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to hit the notification bell and subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories.